see.
Sexuality and violence, a society that had collapsed. What's going on here? In 1972, John B. Calhoun detailed the specifications of a utopia designed for mice, built in the laboratory. Every aspect of Universe 25, as this particular model was called, was designed to cater for the well-being of its rodent residents, increase their lifespan, and allow them to mate. There was abundant food, water, and nesting material. The universe was cleaned regularly. There were no predators, the temperature stable. Paradise. Or maybe not.
Oh, this is really interesting. I'm excited about this. I like where this is going already.
That's why I like this
Full
version of
pad.
it. There's a bunch of different people talking about this, or used to be. This is probably an older video too. But the way he tells the story, it's actually more entertaining than
Okay.
and it's short.
Of disease-free mice selected from the National Institute of Health's elite breeding colony moved in on day one. It took months for the rodents to familiarize themselves with their new world. Then they started to reproduce, and the population increased exponentially, doubling every 55 days. Those were the good times in paradise. Past day 315, more than 600 mice now lived in Universe 25, rubbing shoulders on their way up and down the stairwells to eat, drink, and sleep. Population growth slowed. Young ones found themselves born into a world with far more mice than meaningful social roles. Males faced a lot of competitors to defend their territory against. Many found that so stressful they gave up. Normal discourse within the community broke down, and with it, the ability of mice to form.
Now, keep in mind, everything outside of the amount of mice still is the same. So there's still abundant food, there's still plenty of space, there's still plenty of water. The only thing that changed was the amount of mice were allowed to just keep doubling and doubling and doubling, just naturally.
Yeah, as a snake keeper, I know where this is going. I used to breed rats and mice, but I'm curious because it may not go where I'm thinking.
Social bonds. Lone females retreated to isolated nesting boxes on penthouse levels. Other males, a group Calhoun termed the beautiful ones, never sought sex and never fought. They just ate, slept, and groomed, wrapped in narcissistic introspection.
These are mice.
Cannibalism, asexuality, and violence became endemic. Mouse society had collapsed. On day 560, the population peaked at
It went on for 560 days?
Almost 2 years. So at day 320, so almost 1 year, everything was great and the population was at a stable level and everybody was happy. By 560, less than a year later, all of it, cannibalism, asexuality, the women didn't want shit to do with the men. There was a large group of men that was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just do me. Cannibalism, constant fights, the beautiful ones, dudes just interested in how they personally look.
And because I bred mice and rats for the snakes and other animals I got, I know exactly what they talk about with the beautiful ones.
I actually read the paper. The scientists actually called them the beautiful ones. I thought like one of the videos I saw said it and they just picked it up. No, he actually called them that because they spent all of their time grooming.
No, and now they actually, well, not these particular mice, but the mice that look like the quote unquote beautiful ones are now called fancy mice. And those are the ones that's more desirable as pets.
1,200 mice. A few mice survived past weaning until day 600, after which there were few pregnancies and no surviving young. As the population had stopped regenerating itself, its path to extinction was clear. The mice had lost the capacity to rebuild their numbers. Many that could still conceive, such as the beautiful ones and their secluded singleton female counterparts, had lost the social ability to do so. On day 920 was the last conception. The last mouse died on May 23, 1973, 4 years and 10 months after colonization. Calhoun later said that the creatures had died 2 deaths. The first was that of their spirit and their society. The second death was that of their physical body. It was not the first time the ethologist had built a world for rodents. Calhoun had been creating utopian environments for rats and mice since the 1940s, with consistent results. Overpopulation leads to explosive violence and hypersexual activity, followed by asexuality, self-destruction, and extinction.
Look at the fucking mouse right here biting the other one's tongue. Like, it's getting ridiculous. All of these pictures are ridiculous right here.
That's pretty much the end of the experiment. And at the end, he basically is just saying, like, this is called Universe 25 because this is the 25th of the experiments. They all end the same way or very similar ways, where society just collapses for no reason other than there's a bunch of them. So what do you think of it? Do you think, well, I see a lot of parallels to human society.
I was just about to say, I think it's a warning. It's a cautionary tale.
Because I'm like, the things that happen, okay, so there's not a lot of cannibalism as far as eating each other, but there's a lot of financial cannibalism.
I was just, yeah.
Yeah, and social cannibalism is rampant. The society we currently, like, if you were to compare how we currently live, the standard of living in the Western country to the standard of living 200 years ago, this would essentially be utopia. Most people live really comfortably. Most people don't have to worry about shelter. Most people don't have to worry about food. Most people don't have to worry about water. Women are plentiful, men are plentiful. And what has happened to society? You have a lot of men who are just fucking off, like, I'm done. I'm not even interested. I don't care. I'm not going to say which part of this I sit into, but I would be one of these mice for sure. So you have a lot of the things in this mouse experiment mirrors our current society. And because we have a higher order of intelligence, it might manifest in slightly different ways, but it's slightly different. It's not even massively different.
No, and also to add to that, mice share 97% of our DNA. That's weird.
So are you ready for the dark twist that you probably didn't see coming?
You gonna tell me?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
All right. Are the governments then the good guys? So, from my point of view, yeah. So this whole time, I've been like, everything could be amazing. Ever since we came up with the technology to mechanize production, I was like, it makes no sense for people to work and struggle and suffer to have things. We could have all this shit automated. And then I resaw this recently, and I was like, if things were even better, would we be eating each other? Are they purposely feeding chaos to keep it from being too good? Because if it's too good, this shit happens. Societal collapse. Are they the good guys, Cobra? Are they the good guys all along?
That kind of remind me of you ever seen the movie Wanted?
Was that the one with the curving bullets?
Yeah.
I saw parts of it.
If you decide,
I couldn't get past the curving bullets. It was too much.
What was interesting about that is the father was trying to kill him through the whole movie. the main character, I forget his name. But you realize at the end, when dude finally kills his father, his father tell him, I wasn't trying to kill you. I was trying to save you from them. And then they replay all the scenes where he was having shootouts and shit with his son. He was shooting at the people who had his son.
Mm.
But the people who had the son was telling him, he's shooting at you. He's
Yeah,
trying to kill you because you're the last one left.
that's what fun. I love
That's
a good
kind of,
twist.
yeah, I love twists like that. That's kind
Yeah.
of like what the fuck this is.
But it could be. Like,
That
it,
was
it
crazy.
explains a
People don't
lot.
want to entertain this shit.
Oh, no, people will hate that. But it would explain a lot. It would explain why poverty has to exist. It would, I'm not, now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're benevolent.
Right.
Because if they were benevolent, they wouldn't be trying to profit off of it.
Right.
So they're not the good guys, but are they doing the right thing for society, which is their job? The
And
job
you
of
can
the
ask,
government is to keep society moving.
and you could ask another way. You could say, would it be even worse if they wasn't involved?
Would it be worse if they made everything perfect? That's the fuckery. Because in the utopia, they're eating each other. They're eating each other. We're not there yet.
I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people act like they got morals and shit like that. You got morals because there's consequences over your head. Left to your own devices, it's like
The Joker said that.
huh?
The Joker said that. I don't know if it was in one of the live actions or in one of the animated series, but he actually said, people, the masses are only as good as society allows them to be.
Mm.
Pushed to a certain extent, they'll eat each other. Something along those lines. It might have been The Killing Joke. The Killing Joke was amazing. If you haven't seen it.
Man.
Yeah, if you like dark stories, The Killing Joke is the
I saw The
darkest
Killing
Batman.
Joke.
Yeah,
Y'all already sold that to me years ago.
yeah, that my favorite Batman story ever, Killing Joke. That was amazing.
They said, damn, was it Heath or the last guy? Joaquin Phoenix. One of them took from The Killing Joke.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, you'll never really know, but it's a hell of a
I
plot
mean,
twist.
that's probably why some of the most evilest fucking people that we encounter come from backgrounds where you're like, motherfucker, you had everything. Like, why are you so evil and angry?
Not too much.
So it's like you gotta purposely put them through something.
Well, if you go back a bit in the video, he explains that one of the reasons everything goes to shit is because there's no meaningful roles for the men to occupy. Because by occupying meaningful roles, the man gets to be a man, and the females have a man to want to be around, even in the Mouse Kingdom. But if there's just plentiful everything, and there are no roles for you to fulfill, what is it? Idle hands are the devil's workshop or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. It's like, and that's kind of one of the problems, especially in certain communities. It's like when you get out of high school, there's not a lot of jobs because they don't put businesses in your areas.
Yeah.
You weren't
Or
taught.
your hands. As a teenager, it's not a lot of jobs out there.
Yeah. You weren't taught how to blend because in order to be hired in most places, you're gonna have to bend what's you don't have to bend the way you think and talk, right? If you want to be hired in corporate America, you have to act and talk and be like them, or you won't be hired. I mean, you don't have to like that. Those are the rules of the game. You want to be hired, you have to play the game. So If you don't know how to do that and you haven't been taught that, you don't have roles to fulfill.
Mhm.
So without roles to fulfill, you just go crazy.
Idle hands is the devil playground.
Yeah, yeah. So this is one of my I've looked at a lot of
I
like
also
different
heard Idle
experiments.
Minds. You heard that one before too?
Hmm.
Idle Minds.
Yeah,
Which one is it?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Because I've heard
I
hands.
think I've heard both.
Yeah. Huh.
It pretty much portrays the same idea.
Right.
Like if you're not putting your mind towards something constructive, your mind will run towards something destructive. And
Right.
if you're not actively pursuing something constructive, then you're gonna go do something destructive.
So I read Robert Ressler book, who who coined the phrase serial killer and things of that nature. And one thing that I picked up from him telling stories is if you're, how can I put this? So with dogs, I dealt with dogs a lot for a hobby in my past. The top 10 meanest dogs I ever seen in my life, when my customers used to be like, should I get the dog neutered? And I'd be like, well, I don't know. That's a case by case thing. And they like, well, the vet said, that I should. And you supposed to trust the vet doctor. They have the look of being angelic and clean. That's why they wear the white coats. You would think somebody who's dealing with all this blood and gore and all of this would wear all white, but I feel like that's what it symbolizes.
Probably.
So I'm like, in my experience, the top 10 meanest dogs I've ever seen, and I got a list out of thousands, 7 of them were fixed. And I always knew that, even as a teenager, I knew that. I'm like, man, all the dogs, they come in fixed, they mean as hell. So I read Robert Ressler book, and he said something interesting. He said, um, if you notice, most serial killers have one thing in common. They're impotent. And he was like, in nature, you'll find that if you can't build making children, then you're destroyed. And I personally put that together with the dogs. Like, is that why they so mean? Because you took their purpose away. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And since they can't bring life, which is godlike, I'll take life, which is also godlike. And then I heard a rapper, a battle rapper, Loaded Lux. I put all these three things together. He said in a rhyme, a wise man once told him that a man knows at an early age, you're either here to build or to destroy. And that was just interesting to me. Like, damn, it started putting me in the psyche of a man who can't have children. And I'm not saying a man or woman who can't have children always think this way,
No, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying.
but it's interesting to think like, if you can't build, if I can't build, then what can I do? Like,
Well,
go ahead.
no, it's like think about it like this too. It's not just building a legacy. Like there's different ways to build. So maybe you want to build up your community, or maybe you want to build up your own life to be the life you want it to be, or maybe you want to build up your family, or maybe you want to build up your legacy.
Mm-hmm.
If your feet are cut off from everything you try to build, all that's left is anger and resentment.
And
I get it. It makes sense.
what do most mass killers say? Who if it's not if they don't have a political standpoint, they say, they wanted to etch their mark in the world. They want their name to be remembered. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you might not be able to make a legacy, but you can shoot somebody who has a legacy and be attached to that.
Yeah. You can have that's still a legacy of a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of crazy, man. That's scary as hell. That's scary as hell. So keep these idiots busy is what I get from that.
Well, give people a reason to live a good life, and they'll probably live a good life. If you leave people with no purpose and nothing to build towards, you probably get school shootings and all types of other horrible shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're not too far from cannibalism, guys. Let's try to dial that back a bit. Let's try to dial that back a bit.